Welcome to Mom's Life Made Simple, the podcast for moms who want to go from chaos to calm, from overwhelmed to organized, and to find balance between family responsibilities and personal growth. I'm your host, Chanel Nielsen. Let's make mom life simple. We are going to talk about the idea of enough today. And I want you to think for a second if you have enough. Sometimes we think, am I enough? I want you to think for a second, do I have enough? Do I have enough time? Do I have enough motivation or willpower? Do I have enough energy? The reason why I want you to think about that is because this is something that I hear a lot from moms. Tell me if this is something you ever feel. So do you ever feel like there's not enough time? People will say there's just not enough hours in the day to do all the things that I need to get done. There's too much to do. There's too little time. I've got too many things on my to-do list. There's too much. Maybe you feel constantly busy, constantly rushed, constantly tired. You just feel like there's not enough time for everything that is required of you. And we'll talk a little more about this, but sometimes that maybe you have enough time for what others require of you, but you don't have enough time for the things that you want and the things that you hope that you can get done. And so either way, at the end of the day, it just feels like not enough time. Maybe you can relate with this one. Do you ever feel like you don't have enough willpower? I'm not sure which word to use here. I keep going back and forth. Willpower or motivation? They're kind of that same idea, right? It kind of depends what you want to do. Willpower we usually use when we don't want to do something, and motivation when we do want to do something. So basically they're two sides of the same coin, right? So do you ever feel like you don't have enough motivation to do the things that you want to do? You have this great idea and you know you want to go for something and you're like, yes, I'm going to go for it. But you struggle to stay motivated to keep on doing it day after day. Or you procrastinate, you put it off, and then it doesn't get done because you're just not motivated to go out and do that thing. I think for a lot of us, we can relate to this one with exercise. We have these things we say we want to do, and like we do want to do them, but then when it comes down to getting it done, the motivation isn't there and it doesn't get done. And you feel like maybe I'm just not a motivated person. Maybe I just don't have the motivation to go out and do what I want to get done. Or maybe you feel like this. Another thing people tell me is I just don't have the energy. I'm too depleted. I'm too tired. The kids are sucking the life out of me and I am just so tired. I think of all of those, the energy one is the one that I feel the deepest, because for me, that's the piece that it was that I really felt when I had young kids and when I was just struggling to get through the day. I didn't have the energy and I was just so tired and like, isn't there more? Isn't there something else? Like, can't motherhood be fun and enjoyable? And yes, it had its moments, but I was so tired. I didn't always fully appreciate or enjoy those moments. So these three things are things that we think we don't have enough of. We think we don't have enough time. We think we don't have enough motivation. We think we don't have enough energy. But I want to tell you, you have enough of all three of those. You do. You have enough to do exactly what you were meant to do. You have enough time, you have enough motivation, you have enough energy. And you might be questioning me right now, like, wait, what? She doesn't know me. What is she talking about? She doesn't know if I have those things. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit today about why I believe that that's true. You have enough time, first of all. Well, time is probably the easiest one because guess what? We all have the same amount of time. We all have 24 hours. If you're a CEO of a company, if you've got, quintuplets, whatever your life situation is, we have the same amount of time. So I know that you have enough time. This is something that I used to really struggle with when I had my fifth baby. I was already in the online space and I was doing my podcast and I was creating a business and I was doing a lot of things, and those nap times were so precious. He would take a nap and I would just rush into the office and I would think, I have so much to do. I have so much to do. I don't have enough time. I have so much to do. Well, that internal programming made me feel like I didn't have enough time. But in all reality, I had the time to do what I needed to get done. And I needed to really change the way that I thought about time. I can't remember what year it was, but around that time, one of my words of the year was abundance. And I wanted that abundance financially. I wanted that abundance mainly in my mindset. And I recognized that I also needed to feel time abundance. And so I changed that programming in my mind instead of, I have so much to do, I don't have enough time, to a new thought, which is, I have all the time I need. I invite you to try that one. When you're feeling busy, when you're feeling stressed, I have all the time I need. It's true, you do. You're never going to get more time. And it's really interesting the way we think about time. We think of it as very finite. You can never get it back. Use it well, it's going away. In fact, think of it differently. Time shifts depending on what you're doing in the moment, right? Like, have you ever done, maybe you've held a plank for a certain amount of time. That's like the longest minute or however long you did it of your life, right? Maybe if you're doing something really enjoyable and fun, the hours go by and you're like, where did that time go? Time is relative depending on what we're doing with it. So change the way that you think about time and you'll change that result. You'll recognize you do have enough time. Another way we can do this with our time is use the small increments of time that you have really well. A lot of times as moms, we're not getting, you don't just go to the office and have 8-hour days just laid out in front of you and have to figure out how to work out that amount of time. We have these little increments when the baby's asleep, when the kids are at school, when everyone just happens to be busy doing something and you realize you have a quiet moment. Whatever that specific looks like for you, your time is often going to come in small increments. So have a plan. Okay, when I have 5 minutes, here's what I'm going to do. When I have a half an hour and I know my kid is going to be asleep for a half an hour, here's what I'm going to get done. Have a plan and realize that you can use that time really well. So often we're like, I don't know, the baby might wake up any minute, I'll just scroll social media, right? Like there's no plan and we don't use it well. Another thing that you can do is be really clear on what you want time for. Think about that for a second. So often we're like, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough time. What is it you want time for? When you really know that, that can direct the way that you plan your time, the way that you live your life, instead of going to these things that are so easy and that call to us and that are basically wasting our time and not getting us to where we want to go. This happens, right? We're alone. You find yourself with some time because all the kids have gone to bed or people are busy and you're like, oh, I didn't expect to have time to myself right now. What should I do? And instead of like, oh, I'm going to quickly go, put on my walking shoes and walk around the block, or I'm going to do something that I've been meaning to do because I have this project list that I've like, okay, yes, this is the time to do that. We do the default. We do what's easy. We pick up our phones. We just aren't using that time well. So enough about time. You have enough time. Next, you have enough motivation. So here's the thing. We think we need to rely on motivation to get stuff done. It's like, okay, I'm going to go out and run every day. I'm so motivated on day one. I am going to do this. I love the story of Greg McKeown. He wrote the book Essentialism, and he talks about the fact that he wanted to create a habit of journaling every day. And so instead of on the first day writing a bunch in his journal, he wrote a little bit. He wrote less than he wanted to. And that is key because writing less kept some of that motivation. Now, the next day, he wanted to write in his journal because he didn't use up all his motivation on the first day. Think of New Year's resolutions. You go and you run on your, I'm going to run 5 miles a day, and you run 5 miles the first day, and the next day you're like, oh my gosh, I don't really want to do that, but I said I was going to do it, and maybe you run the second day and it goes down, down, down. You do less and less and less because you are running out of that motivation. We want to flip that script. What can you do that's going to create that habit, that's going to get you to where you want to go, that's not going to require a lot of motivation? Set up your life so it doesn't require a lot of willpower. So maybe you've heard this before. If you put out candy, we have a candy dish, and you put it out on your counter, you're going to eat something, it's like over 200% more candy than you would if you hid the candy away. Now, if you want to not have to rely on willpower, not have to rely on motivation, set up your environment so that it helps you do the things that you want to do. So if you want to eat more carrots, what should you do? Put out a thing of carrots on your counter so that when you walk by, it's just habit. It's just easy. You just grab a carrot. No big deal, right? You don't need to rely on motivation. And because you don't need to rely on motivation, you don't need to rely on willpower, you have exactly what you need. What you need to do instead is set up your life to not require motivation, to do the things that you want to do, like journaling, like running, whatever, in tiny little increments so that you keep at it, so that your life isn't just this grind of requiring, oh my gosh, okay, today I have to go do this run, today I have to do this journal, like, do I even want to do this anymore? There are days you're not going to want to do it. So what is going to get you through on those days? What is not going to require motivation? You want to plan your life around that. And what happens when you do, that's when you're going to create a habit. That's when you're going to see consistency, and consistency compounds. Consistency, when you do something day after day after day, that's when you see those results. That's when you feel that success, that internal, like, yes, I am doing this. I'm doing what I set out to do. Set up your life like that, and I promise you, you have enough willpower. Now, the last one, you have enough energy. Now, this one, I imagine I'm going to get the most kickback on. Like, do I have enough energy? I don't know if I do. Yeah, you do. And if you're feeling like you don't, then I want you to take a good hard look at what you're doing to energize yourself. What are you doing to energize yourself? If your life is leaving you feeling depleted, if you are doing for others all the time and you don't have a good self-care regimen, and you aren't taking a few minutes for yourself to, I always use the analogy of fill your cup, right? You have to fill your cup so that you can give to others. So it's not that you don't have enough energy internally, it's that you aren't refilling your cup. One of the things that I love, that I recommend, and you guys have heard me talk about this before, is have a good morning routine. Wake up in the morning, do something that fuels you, that energizes you. When you do that, even if it's short, you are going to find you have enough energy to do the things that you need to do throughout the day. You will find, like, okay, I did something for me and I feel better, and I feel like I can keep going, I can keep giving, I can keep doing. So the question is, how are you making time for you? What is your self-care routine like? That is going to replenish your energy. This goes back to, well, if people think they don't have enough time and they think they don't have enough motivation, then they don't put in self-care. But the truth is, self-care is going to give you the energy. You have enough time. You have enough motivation. Self-care will feed you that energy that you need. And then all these three, time, motivation, and energy, you will find that you do have enough. And you'll find that those are not the things that are holding you back from doing what you want to do. So often we have this idea that I don't have enough time, I don't have enough motivation, I don't have enough energy. And because I don't have enough, I can't go write the next great American novel. I can't go and create a podcast. I can't go and start my business. I can't do these things because I don't have enough. It's just not true. You have enough. I'm telling you right now, you do. And so what are those? Those are an excuse. They're just excuses that are holding us back from what's really underneath, which is fear. We are afraid to do the thing that we need to do. And so often we feel this thing so deeply. I need to do this. I know I felt this. I felt it several times in my life, and especially over the last couple of years, where it's like, you need to start a podcast. And oh, all the excuses, you guys. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough know-how. I don't have enough to start a podcast. And at the heart of that is fear. The fear of, I don't want to do a podcast and sound like a dork. I don't want people to be able to listen to me and me share my thoughts and be vulnerable in that way. It's easy to talk ourselves out of things, and it's easy to think that these reasons are valid when really they're just hiding our fear. We have other fears like, well, if I go in, if I do this dream, if I build this business, if I do this thing, maybe I won't be a good enough mom. Maybe I can't do it all. If you have something that is speaking to you that you're feeling called to do, and if that thing is good, and if that thing comes from God, which you can pray and ask Him, is this something that you're giving me to do? Then He will give you enough to do it, enough courage, enough energy, enough time, enough motivation, everything that you need to be able to do that. You need to break past the fear. You need to see what it is. What is your next step? And your next step is probably going to be scary. Your next step is probably going to be figuring out how this all works and how you fit it together in your life and how you do it. And if that is where you're at, then definitely reach out because I can help with the how. One of the things that I do in my group coaching is we figure out how to balance all these moving pieces of motherhood and big dreams and all the things we have going on to bring it all to a place where it feels manageable and we recognize that we don't have to do everything, but once we narrow down what really matters to us, once we figure that out, we can make progress on the things that matter without leaving behind the things that really matter, which is our family, our faith, our, just those important things. We can also work on our goals. And so reach out. It has been transformative for people who are where maybe you are right now, needing to take that next step, feeling that call, but not sure how to get there. So you can schedule a call with me. I'm doing calls for the next couple of weeks to see if it's a good fit. And those calls, I spend time on the phone to really find out what it is you want and how I can help you get there. There's links wherever you're watching, so you can find that link and click it and come over and let's chat and see if this is a good fit for you. I hope this has been helpful. Let me know in the comments what stood out to you, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye. Thank you for listening to Mom's Life Made Simple. I'm so glad that you're here, and I want you to join us for the 2023 Self-Care Challenge. Each month, we will be diving into a different area of simple self-care, learning how to create habits that allow you to make time for yourself. So to join the challenge, go to chanelnielsen.com/selfcare 2023. When you join, you'll get access to free downloads that help you to create and track your new habits, as well as a link to the community so that you can discuss and win prizes that the guests are sharing on the podcast. I'm so excited for you to make self-care part of your year in 2023.